Welcome to our mid-March, Ides of March gathering of the Unity Correspondence course study group. I'd like to invite all of us to just settle in. Take a deep breath if that works for you. As Claudia just said, where two or more are gathered, Jesus said, I am in the midst. And that I am is part of what we've been studying, and what we feel, how we think, are all expressions of the I am, the single one, the only existent, the one presence, the one power, the one love that always is the only thing in reality. And as we settle into this feeling, this presence, I'm going to bring up today's daily word and invite Lillian to share it with us.
Lively. That's a great one.
Indeed.
I am lively, filled with awe and wonder. There is a glorious unseen flow at the heart of all creation, moving in and through me. As I align with this sacred energy, I feel vibrantly alive. I imagine myself part of the great living whole. I am one with the trees whose boughs sway in the wind, with the mountains and hills echoing with ancient voices, with the waters trickling over stone. Even the quiet earth hums a sacred song. Today I will listen more closely, breathe more deeply, and move with intention. Life is not separate from me. I am its expression. In harmony with its rhythm, the world begins to sing. I recognize its lively song is singing me too. And from Isaiah 55, for you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, Lillian.
You're welcome.
I am lively, filled with awe and wonder. Let's affirm that together. I
I
am
am
lively,
lively,
Filled
filled
with
filled
with
with
awe
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 and
and
wonder.
and
wonder.
wonder.
Yes. Thank you. And speaking of awe and wonder, we've been talking about understanding of God, and we're in this section here. Are we capable of understanding God? And we read 16 and 17 last week. And key element of 17 is this line here that we have consciousness in divine mind. And the expressions of mind that have consciousness in divine mind manifest only bits of its knowledge, so that there seems to be a myriad of minds, each with its own knowledge. Intelligence in individuals is mind expressing itself as consciousness. So before we start up number 18, just see if there's any thoughts, reflections from last week's conversation. Anything that anybody'd like to bring up before we move on? Yeah, Janet.
Okay, this is a good one for you.
All
And
right.
my son came to visit yesterday and he told me the story that 2 days prior, he was at the back of his truck unloading at a job site. And a dump truck that was about 3 feet behind him, the driver jumped out but didn't put on the handbrake. And the dump truck started rolling. And I know his angels put their hands up and slowed that truck down. It went into my son's back. He was up against the his own truck, and he started screaming and yelling. And the driver jumped in. Thank God, an angel helped put it in reverse, not forward, or he'd be dead.
Oh,
And he walked away. He walked away from that accident. we have to believe that we're guided and protected at all times. And
Exactly.
I absolutely said I have to share this with my group because I read about angel stories all the time and I feel sometimes that kind of protection. But this was very real. And he's a smart man. He knew to go to urgent care and get an x-ray. And he called into the office and told the office manager in case something happens going down the line. But they told him, watch for these signs of any kind of, things happening and you'll need an MRI. But the people couldn't, no one can believe what happened to him and that he was walked away from it. So I wanted to
Wow.
share that with you because it's really important miracle to know miracles really happen.
Miracles happen.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Well, thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
You know, it always strikes me that in an instant, something could be so different. And
Yeah.
and and we can't dwell on that. We have to focus on the miracle and the good, and not everything else that we all know, but just kind of push that away. I guess that Marty and I share a passion for Emmett Fox, and it would be like, focusing on the good. Yeah. Thanks for starting us off.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
welcome. I had to. I thought you can't let this go by and not tell. I've told a couple of other people too. I got his permission and I said, I have to tell my spiritual friends about this. And he is not a spiritual seeker at all.
or
But
he
now he
wasn't.
is. This is what
Yeah.
is. That's what he said. Oh, yeah, something happened that I can't explain. And I said, all right, we'll just hold it there. And
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet. What's your son's name?
Jared, out of the Bible, Jared.
So we just see Jared completely healed from any trauma that may have occurred. We affirm that miracles are happening all the time.
Mhm.
In fact, we affirm that miracles aren't even the right word anymore. Because miracle denotes something extraordinary. But in God mind, miracles are ordinary.
Hmm.
And all the helpers are just invisible to the naked eye. And I could almost see where they were positioned in front of the truck when after he told me after he left, and I did a little crying, but then I was praying about it, and I could almost picture that force of energy angels that were invisible to him and to me. If I had been standing there, I would have been screaming. But it it is so real, and just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not real.
Mhm.
That's actually a perfect segue into number 18 here. Who would be willing to read 18 and 19 for us?
I will. I should do it in thanks and
Okay. Thank you.
be willing to be thankful out loud. 18 tells us that mental laws are being discovered and studied as never before in the world's history. But those who are investigating nature and her laws simply from the intellectual and physical viewpoints must fall short of complete understanding because they fail to trace all things back to the causing mind. The objects we see in nature are but symbols of ideas. There is an idea back of everything that appears. The material forms that we see about us are the chalk marks of a mighty problem being outworked by the one mind. To comprehend that problem and to catch a slight glimpse of its meaning, We must grasp the ideas that the chalk marks represent. This is what we mean by studying mind back of nature. Charles Fillmore, Christian Healing 12-13. To deal with nature effectively, one has to discover what particular idea is manifesting itself and deal with that idea. Studying nature alone, one finds apparently contradictory laws in operation. Studying ideas, learning their character and the right relation between them, one finds harmony and gains true knowledge. He is able to comprehend the creation of the Almighty by grasping the ideas in divine mind. In this way, we are studying mind back of nature. And the note number 3 said, he is able to comprehend the creation of the Almighty, how we know God as omnipotent.
Thank you,
Done.
Janet. Thoughts? Reactions? Disagreements?
Well, I thought it was ironic after what we just heard, that beautiful miracle story, that they compared that scientists are being just investigating nature and the laws simply from the intellectual and physical viewpoints. And that falls short of complete understanding because they fail to trace all things back to the causing mind. And so I just made me think of how easily we cling to the physical and what we can see, and how much more is going on beyond that that we haven't necessarily tapped into, and all the miracles that we don't see that are out there because we're focused on that physical and intellectual stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. You put me in mind of the fact that in English we have this phrase common sense. And common sense is based on sense data. And that sense data is what comes in through the eyeballs, what comes in through the ears, what comes in through the touch, etc., is limited. It's limited to those particular data points. And yet, when we go inside, or as Janet said, with respect to what happened to her son, there's a lot more going on than what our senses can tell us. And so that common sense is limited.
Sometimes I think about even in our physical realm, we've got our five senses, and there are so many who believe that is all there is, the things that we can see, touch, smell, hear, and taste. But I look around and I see a squirrel running on a power line, or just in nature, creatures that are here in physical form that have completely different senses or heightened senses, deeper senses. How can we think that we've got it all sewn up with our five?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd like to welcome Gretchen and call on Dick.
Thanks. I was looking back a little farther up. Um, all knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are expressions of ideas. Oops.
I was trying to help you there.
I understand that. Let me regroup here. The expressions of mind that have consciousness in divine mind manifest only bits of its knowledge, so that there seems to be a myriad of minds, each with its own knowledge. And I thought that was interesting because there are so many points of view, but a little farther up there, it said something that I thought was very important, which is, he says people think of having God's mind within us, or us being parts of God's mind. And he said that's a misnomer, as I understood what he was saying, that we have all of God's mind. And then I come to this statement here, and it's clear to me now why it doesn't seem like I have all of God's mind, even though I really do.
Can you say more about that, Dick?
Well, could you back up a little bit? I'll try to find the quote that I'm starting with. But you have to give me a second. Why doesn't somebody else go ahead and talk, and I'll find it and come back?
Fair enough.
I believe in our searching and our questioning and our coming together to uh, what I call deeper understanding. Um, there's a line in a song from one of my about this guy will knows more than he'll ever understand. Um, um, there's a lot that I know, and it's that phrase, peace beyond all understanding. Christ called us to a peace beyond all understanding. So we're in the process of developing the capacity to go further than the intellect can take us. Rudolf Steiner calls it, he actually refers to developing organs of super sensible understanding, which I can understand as emotional intelligence, feeling tone. I can sense when I'm talking to somebody based on the agreement in the conversation, what they're feeling as they're saying what they say. It's like I hear underneath what they're saying a tone that needs attention, or and that I'm in the process of developing these skills, abilities to go deeper than what science and intelligence has brought us to in a what do you might call it? I don't know if it's modernity or that kind of stuff. So, did you find it, Dick?
I did.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Intuition, maybe, John?
In imagination, inspiration, intuition, that goes beyond. There's times when I'm talking to people that I'm not thinking. I'm actually hearing myself say what I'm saying, and it's this one mind. I'm assigning it to connected to that one mind. And sometimes I'll say something and I'll go, somebody write that down. That was cool. And I know that it's coming through, but it's coming through John Donovan's understanding and seeking. When other people do it, it's coming through their understanding and seeking, which is the difference. So, yeah, intuition, imagination, intuition, inspiration.
And psychic abilities too should go fall into that.
Yeah. I believe that's the intuitive sense that we all came in with, that was lost in the conditioning, socialization process. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Dick, you want to pick it up?
Yeah, it's about not quite halfway down in paragraph 17. God mind cannot be separated or divided. Hence, it is not strictly correct to say that man's mind is a part of divine mind, because this implies separation. And I thought that was, when I read that, I thought that was a huge thing. Because okay, I say to myself, I do think that God is within me and da 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 da. But what he's saying here is he's saying it's a total thing. And then, of course, I realize I'm not using all the total thing. So then I look farther down here and it said, okay, I'll just read the rest a little bit more here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man has consciousness in divine mind. The expressions of mind that have consciousness in divine mind manifest only bits of its knowledge, so that there seems to be a myriad of minds, each with its own knowledge, intelligence. Okay, you get the idea.
Mhm.
So here he's telling me that my joining in God's mind is total, but I'm only expressing it in bits. And I find that to be an interesting thing, but it does seem to be true of me because I don't feel it like a total connection, I know everything in God's mind. But like John was saying, sometimes I express it even if I don't know it's in me. So it is there, and why it comes out in bits, I'm not clear. But then he said it makes it look like there's a bunch of different ideas when really we're only capable, it looks like, of coming up with bits. Did that make any sense at all to anybody?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up then. Thanks.
I would look at Genesis, where God punishes the serpent, and he said, "You will have to crawl." That means he is no longer in the full perspective, but he goes to the two-dimensional plane. That means that there are many aspects that the serpent was aware of, and they were all pushed down into the 2D model. That means if you come from a 3D or 4D or 5D model and you go to 2D, you are losing information. So your mind can still be in God mind, but you don't have the full spectrum.
Yeah, and Leo, that idea is expressed at the end of this
Right.
paragraph.
Right.
When we think that we have a mind separate from God mind, we're building a state of consciousness that is adverse to truth. The scriptures call this adverse state the adversary or Satan or the serpent.
Mhm.
I think I would call it egoic mind.
Mhm.
I mean, it's where our ego kind of steps in and kind of says, no, 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 no. I think I'll take this over right now. So the egoic mind is pretty powerful. Powerful enough to push out God mind anyway, or appear to push out God mind, since God mind doesn't go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, you can't push out God mind.
Right. It just appears to.
But God mind's powerful enough to ignore itself.
Whoa, there's a Cohen in there somewhere.
At least one. Any other thoughts on this section that we've been talking about?
One thought, and Claudia mentioned psychic abilities, and I've heard psychics and skilled mediums talk about the fact that we all are always connected to the all that is and all of the information, and that they have just honed an ability to zero in on a piece of that all mind and bring through information. Anyway, just a footnote, I guess.
And I want to offer my experience of that is information pertinent to the context of what's going on in the whatever's needed for advancement, and we don't know I don't know what that is. I
Yep.
just say what I say.
To serve the greater good.
Yes.
Tesla would say it's all in resonance.
I like that word.
It also puts me in mind of what Eric Butterworth says in Practical Metaphysics, where he reminds us that all of God is in every single point of reality, that all of spirit is here now. All of spirit's in you, all of spirit is in me, all of spirit is in everybody, all of spirit is in the entire universe. And so, because all of spirit is everywhere present, we, this is that egoic we that Claudia, I think you were referring to, we perceive, we're able to perceive those kinds of connections that John, you were talking about, because the medium is unity, it's unified, it's a single thing. There is no separation between any of us any more than there's separation between us and God, except that we have the power to believe that there is separation and therefore manifest it. Well, if I
Right.
have the power to manifest separation, I have the power to manifest unity.
You don't need the power to manifest unity. You need the power to recognize
Yeah,
unity.
good point. Janet.
Somewhere between what Dick said and what John said, I did realize that I need to claim time and patience as spiritual seekers. That I think I did live way too much of my earth life this time in the egoic mind because I was so full of fear. And fear is a real, what's the word? A real, really is going to push that egoic mind to figure it out, get the right answer, you stay out of trouble. And it took years of takes. I don't want to say it's fixed. I'll say it takes years of meditation and prayer and wanting to get it right this lifetime to finally cross the line where the egoic mind has shrunk enough to be able to understand the things that are intangible and invisible. I and it seemed to all come together on my birthday in February. And I really saw that 75 number as egoic bullshit and how hard I tried. I tried so hard to be a good worker, a good mother, a good daughter, good everything. Do it right, get it, do it. And that day, as I was walking around out there near the canal, I thought, you're done, baby. You just need to fucking relax. You need to relax and let God think for you and let God speak for you. You don't have to worry about anything. This is it. You're heading into number 76 now, and you got to make it a good one by not letting that egoic mind come back. And boy, I've been getting some really strong affirmations, my son's incident being one of them,
Yeah.
that it's really okay to not have that egoic mind figuring everything out all the time. And I have felt physically so much better. I have felt happy. I have felt like I'm off the hook. And that, I guess that's the I ego Janet is off the hook. And I can just live each day, wait and see what happens. But that's a long time to be really seeking, looking, trying hundreds of hours of psychotherapy, hundreds of hours of different modalities to kind of figure it out, get it right. And then it just changes in a minute. And I want to just say for all the younger ones in this group, you got to have hope and patience and trust, and then have the wisdom of some of the teachers in this group to say, this is what you're aiming for. This is what you're pushing to. This is a good payoff if you can live long enough to claim it. And boy, every day has been a miracle. So that's my
And,
pitch for
and would you
letting
be
go of egoic mind.
and would you be willing to consider
However, I'm sorry, I just feel a very strong egoic mind is important. Not all of us can be born like the Dalai Lama. Not all of us can have the self-awareness and unity awareness immediately. Some of us on making our way up the mountain have, have that strong egoic mind, had to overcome, had to beat the man, had to overcome the glass ceiling. Well, we all know, there's always something. But then what you came to, Janet, is almost the equivalent of epiphany. It's like, whoa, I did it. I did it all, and I can let go. And now, what is on the other side of this rainbow? How this is going to be way cool.
Yeah.
And you've got the comparison. You've got the comparison of old Janet would do it this way, new Janet is doing this way. And there's where you see the enlightenment or the progress or whatever. You don't even need to measure it. But if we all started out with as a Dalai Lama, knowing that we were, incarnated of, I don't know, 100,000 years of dollies, then, okay, then, well, there's only one Dalai Lama. So, that's not me. So anyway, that's just my 25 cents.
Thank you,
Thank
Claudia.
you. Christine?
I had an idea, and it comes from my past meetings I've gone to and all of the wisdom I find in these meetings. So if I'm saying something that you originally said, I'm admitting it now. This is not coming just from me. But I was in a meeting where an 80, I think she's 85 maybe, said, I remember when I was 35 and I thought I knew everything. And now that I'm 85, I know nothing. And so I think that all of the seeking and stuff like you talked about up until 75, it's because we want to know, but isn't it really that we have to come to the conclusion that we don't know anything before we can open up the pathway to reveal more that our subconscious can tell us or that God can tell us? And then that's when we speak from that place where we don't even know what we're about to say. And I just feel personally that the only way I can get there is when I completely surrender to God and say, I know nothing. So that was what I was thinking. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, and
Good on you
one
that you
thing I
came on
learned
at
from
such a young age.
Mhm.
and one thing I learned from working with John is not only it's to deal with that egoic mind, which I agree with Claudia is essential, but ultimately superfluous. And so the phrase that John taught me is, I'm willing to know nothing. So not only do I know nothing, I'm willing to be there
And stay there?
and stay there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because in only that you can be open to new ideas or new input or the miracles that are surrounding us that are so commonplace we shouldn't call them miracles.
Or to know in a kind of knowing that the ego mind, the human mind, is not capable of securing, to know that we are 100% divine and therefore have nothing to fear. There's no outside to us. There's no other that can threaten us. There's just the one that I'm expressing and am an expression of.
How egotistic of the ego mind, how egotistic of us to think that we can define and frame the mind of God or divine mind. It's such a human trait.
And yet even the ego is of divine mind. So maybe there's a purpose for that.
But fear is not. Is that true? Fear is not coming from divine mind. Is
Correct.
that true? Okay.
Right.
Oh, fear is coming from outside divine mind?
I don't know.
I don't know. Right.
It's
Well,
almost like
there's only love.
I think it was last week that I mentioned, sometimes the struggle of understanding a lot of the hard things that we see in this life, war and famine and pollution and all of that. And we might put fear into that camp that we just don't understand yet the role, or we just don't understand, not even yet, but the role that these things are playing in our world, in our universe, in our consciousness. But the trust and the faith that they have a role, the fear has a role.
Good point. Thank you. Gretchen?
I thank you so much for what you said, Sydney, because my sense is that most of the time when I'm experiencing the thing that I call fear, so I want to put a little bit of parentheses around that I'm calling that feeling fear, it is often associated with I am unsure of what that thing is. And that I maybe am standing too close to that thing and I can't see what that thing is, and that the opportunity to step back inside of myself and lean on the one that is allows me to have a new perspective of what that thing is. My opportunity is to let go of my naming that feeling inside of me, fear, and maybe put it more into, I don't know what this is, and ask God for clarity. And I get to step back from that. And there have been so many things in my life that when I go through that process, the thing that I'm looking at actually changes shape, and I can see it differently for what it is. And I just, I feel very drawn to say that the transformation, I'm going to talk about you, Janet, in third person for a moment. The transformation that I hear in your voice and see in your presence over the last 5 months has been nothing short of remarkable. Thank you for sharing your journey with us, for having the willingness and the humility to share that path with us, and to hear what you say today. Wow. I have watched you step back from yourself, and you are speaking of a new reality, which is just the demonstration of what I've been inadequately trying to create words around, the statement of how that thing called fear, when I let go of the attachment to that idea that it's fear and allow it to take shape for what it is, it takes a wholly different shape. And you just demonstrated that to me in the last several months. What a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so beautiful. You gave me goosebumps.
Thank you. Because you can see it, Gretchen. I don't exactly see it. I just know something has shifted and changed.
Right.
And I thought about going back to look at all the past things that are on the YouTube of this meeting or of my meetings with Mark. And I thought, no, that's egoic mind wanting to figure this out and understand it. And you got to just say, I am where I am today. I'm grateful and I feel better than I've ever felt. So
Trust.
whatever it
Trust
is,
the shift. Yes.
it's a gift for sure. But I also think that a journey that didn't allow death 3 times, that where death was so close, was a life meant to be lived out and then shared. Because I think spiritual groups, we pick up people that are at different places on the path, and you identify with that person if they're at the same place on the path with you, and you say, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. What I now understand is that each person has their own path and their own journey, and it's going to change and stop, or change and transform in God's time. not in the person's time, to say, if I do this, oh my God, I was so crazy. And I'd tell the doctor, I'd say, this happened, I did this, I tried that, I did this, I prayed, I meditated. I. And we would never talk spiritual things because I thought it just sort of mixed everything up, that I needed to understand if I was going to feel better. I would have been so much better sitting around with one of you and having a cup of tea and hearing, real reality. I was being egoic. I get it. But I just think we need to be so much kinder to ourselves and not feel not getting it right. We're all getting it right for today. And
Yes. And thank you for sharing the suddenly. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Right, John?
Yeah.
There's another aspect to appreciate here, which is that as much as this can seem like a struggle for us as individuals, as much as it may take 75 years for some of us to reach those aha moments, it is a contribution to the expansion of consciousness of all of us.
It's true.
And from that perspective, it doesn't matter how long it took. It just matters that it happens.
And we're lifting up the consciousness of the world. And as we
Exactly.
lift up our consciousness.
Yeah. Because they're all the
Yes.
same thing. This goes back to the point he's trying to make here, that this is all in God mind. This is all God
Yes.
mind. And although, as Dick pointed out, that sign, we may feel it as separate,
Right.
but it's not strictly correct to say that our mind is part of divine mind, because this implies separation.
I want to touch on something that Janet said, which is we just need to be kinder to ourselves, which is self-love or self-compassion. And, I go back to that. As soon as you said that, I thought about what Jesus said, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself. So right there, Jesus was trying to tell us, love yourself, as you love yourself, and we're not particularly good at that. We're good at being self-critical and self-depreciating, but self-compassion and self-love are not necessarily, strong suits that we have.
And what I find interesting about the way Jesus enunciated that is he said, first love God. So when I love God with my whole heart, my whole mind, soul, I'm now capable of loving myself as my neighbor.
Yes, you're right, Marty. The first commandment is, the greatest commandment is.
Well, they work together.
They work together.
I think he said, because he was asked, he was challenged. What is the greatest commandment?
Right.
Yep.
Keep kosher.
Yes. Well, and the adversary says you can't love yourself until you love other people. And
happens to be the
that
other way
reverse
around.
is true.
It's the other way around.
Yep.
And then it gets to, what is love? What is agape?
Well, and also what's the scripture, Gretchen, where Jesus says, how many times should I forgive? 7 times 70?
70 times, 7
How
times
many times
70.
should I forgive myself? This goes to Janet's point. I like to use the term let myself off the hook, but we all say it differently.
Well, I'll add, since the quote here is from Christian Healing, pages, the little light bulb thing on the screen, what I read on that earlier this week that really helped me was that God gives that in forgiving, for truth. God gives for truth. God gives for error the truth. That when we are in error, what we get in that, if we are open, is the truth of that moment and that situation. And then we are released. I didn't say that as well as Charles Elmore says, but there is about the forgive exchange is for error, God gives truth when we are open to that. And so our job is to let go of our claws, my claws, and the error, so that truth can be revealed, and that God and love and truth are here always.
Like everything is my teacher.
Everything is my teacher, right? And that when I am forgiving, I am willing to allow my perspective on the error to shift so that the truth can be revealed underneath that. And that is what is the sting. That is the process for being set free. And going back to what Leo said, which just is, I'm going to trip on that for days, is that we get out of the two-dimensionality of the ground as I see it, and God restores us to the multidimensionality of the life force. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can get a little bit more in here while we have time. So, as always, each one of these sections leads to further illumination in the subsequent section. Divine ideas and consciousness. What have we been talking about? What is man's inheritance from God? How is it brought into manifestation? Who will read paragraph 20 and the quote beneath it?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Man is the offspring of God, divine mind. He is God's idea of himself, and as such is capable of comprehending the one mind from which he springs. He is never for an instant separated from the ideas of divine mind. He has only to open his consciousness to receive whatever understanding he requires. Man is created in the image and after the likeness of God. In the book Christian Healing, page 13, Charles Fillmore states quite clearly the importance of ideas. Divine ideas are man's inheritance. They are pregnant with all possibility, because ideas are the foundation and cause of all that man desires. With this understanding as the foundation, we easily perceive how all are mine, all mine are thine. All the ideas contained in the one Father mind are at the mental command of its offspring. Get behind a thing into the mental realm where it exists as an inexhaustible idea, and you can draw upon it perpetually and never deplete the source.
Thanks, Lillian. Thoughts? Is any of this cohering with what we were just talking about?
I mean, that's just awesome how this came forward. And I think about when I'm unable to get behind the idea of the thing, I am looking at the thing in a two-dimensionality aspect, whatever that thing is, and it's too close to me. I'm at the ground of that thing, and it's like I can't see, and that the opportunity is to get behind the thing, and then it totally opens up and shows itself for what it is, the truth, not what I think it is in the limited sense, which can feel like error.
Thanks, Gretchen.
And that gives us an idea of abundance. And there is no more fear of loss, because it is not, when I take the idea, that it is not taken from you. It's still there. So I can joy freely in whatever ideas there are, and not everything that I take from others.
Right. Thanks, Leo.
I believe that's what I was trying to say. Get behind the last sentence, get behind the thing into this mental realm where it exists as inexhaustible idea. That's what I was referring to as imagination, inspiration, intuition, where it moves through depending, and again, depending on the context of where I find myself.
Thanks, John. Dick?
Well, I was taken by the sentence here that said, "He is never for an instant separated from the ideas of divine mind. He has only to open his consciousness to receive whatever understanding he requires." And I'm reading this, and I mean, I'm amazed by this concept. It's just not natural in me, I guess, to think of myself as this large. But I mean, this is huge to me. And all I'm thinking after I read it is that I intend to be open to that understanding as it's supposed to be provided to me.
Wow.
Right? Because I'm just limiting myself, thinking I got to figure stuff out.
Okay. Thanks, Dick. Leo?
Thanks, Dick. I like to add to that. Something happened today. I made a key card for my wife runs a homestay, and one of the houses, the key card wasn't working. And after some probing, I said, okay, I think what it is. Can you all step out of the house, put the golden around it, and also step away from it with your mind? And that for me is a practical example of what is stated here. Because I tell them just to come to the higher level and the solution will present itself. And after minutes, the system worked again. It just worked again. Because people were so involved in trying to solve the problem that they made the problem more severe. And that is electronics. Electronics is very sensitive to our minds.
Hmm.
And there's more than one way to to intersect that power. I mean, Leo, you've shared with us in the past other examples of how you can fix phones and other electronic equipment with your mind, and that's great. And
but that's is grace.
Yeah.
Just use
Well,
grace.
I know people who can break it with their mind. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a friend who constantly says, I can't get my computer to work. It hates me. I never know how I can do. I don't know how people get their computer to work, you know, and then she goes on with her phone on that and her printer, and damned if she isn't so successful in making that happen.
Breaking it.
Just making it non-functional.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wanted to
call
use it. I wanted to use a different example, if I could, Leo, on the practical, because the practical is important to us, because we live in dimensional reality. So I was having trouble. I bought a new Amazon Fire Stick, and I just couldn't get it to work. And I thought of you. I thought I should get a hold of Leo and see if he can fix it from Thailand. But another way to do that is I just said I don't know how to fix it, and I have a friend whose grandson fixes stuff for her. So I asked her if she thought he could help me, and he came over and fixed it.
Well, what I do is I just go back to the creator of the Fire Stick. I said, what a beautiful design. Could never do it like you. Please help me for a moment.
Yeah.
And whoop, solution presents itself. And most of the time, it is just take the electricity away, take the power away, let it rest for a while, slow down, get a rest, start it up again. And
I mean,
it
is that
works.
like let go?
That's exactly like go. And Gretchen said it nice. A great example of clearing the fields.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
It's chaos around a particular object. People allow chaos to enter. They worry, and you only need to calm down the area, and it will regenerate.
And with intention.
Absolutely. And saying grace, I am always grateful for what presents itself in the technical world. I say, wow, how did they manage to make that so small? Amazing. Look how it fits in your hands. Amazing.
Amazing.
And the people that made that, they hear that, they feel that. It doesn't matter where they are on the earth, they feel that. And there is always someone sleeping and coming to me and says, a whisper in my ear says, what about if you push that button? And I don't hear that. I don't hear that voice, but I push that button.
Divine mind in action.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. Janet?
I've got the old-fashioned statement here to, I think it's the same thing that he's saying in that sentence about opening his consciousness. What's changed in my world is that I now say, please help me receive whatever understanding I need to do God's will in my next action. I have a real passion now for not doing Janet's will and doing God's will. And I talk about it a lot because what's happened is that there's been a series of events in the past month that I had to do the action that seemed odd and then allow the outcome to happen, believing, well, all right, Janet, you're going to get through this because this is God's will and you'll be given what you need to do this event or this thing. So I don't know how that's exactly different from what we just read, but it's what's working for me. And I'm sticking with it. Done.
It's God. I like that.
Well, maybe that's the perfect note to wrap up as we come to the end of our time together. So thanks, everybody, as always, for participating and sharing. And we will do this again next week. So as always, we're going to close out our time together with our prayer for protection. Together, the light
of God surrounds us.
The
The
love
love
of
of
God
God
enfolds us.
enfolds us.
The
The
power of God protects us.
us.
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we
Wherever we
are,
are,
God
God
is,
is,
and
and
all is perfect.
well.
Thanks,
Gosh,
everybody.
guys, it was great spending Sunday morning with you.
Yes, it was.
Marty,
Thank
could
you,
you
Marty.
stick around
Thank
for
you.
just a
Thank
minute?
you.
What, Dick?
Could you stick around for just a minute?
Just a minute, sure.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What I'm hoping for, real quick, at the start of the meeting, you have that.
Daily Word.
What say that?
Daily Word.
Yeah. Is that the name of the book?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know. I think I'd get that on Kindle, I would imagine, right?
I actually subscribe to it. I think I pay $5 a year or something. So there is an electronic version as well as they'll send you a printed version. It's through Unity.
Well, are you recommending the printed version, or do you think the electronic would be okay? That way, I got it with me wherever I go.
It's up to you. I mean, whatever. When I was doing the church thing, I got the printed version so I could look ahead The electronic version doesn't let me look ahead. It only lets me look back. So like I can't tell you what next Sunday's is, and I would sometimes base my talk on the Daily Word. So
Okay.
that's a
Well,
that's a advantage of having the printed version,
okay. One
but it
other
may not be
question, and
important.
I don't know. One other question then. If I decide to go with the printed version, how do I order that?
Um, Hold on one second. Let me just I think if we just Google Daily Word, Daily Word Unity. Yeah, so if you just Google Daily Word Magazine, and
Okay.
then it will take you to the website where you can figure all that out.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know, Marty. Happy Sunday to you.
All right, brother.
See ya.
Take care. Say hi to Marcia.
I'll do it.
All right. Bye.